Okay, I think we're live. It's been a hot minute. Hi, how have y'all been? Today I want to talk about something that's been affecting myself. Um, and that is that like creative block. Um, and how we can like ignite our creativity and get back to what we like to do and the joy of creating art. Um, so today I'm going to share with you a few ideas that I came up with for different things that you can do if you find yourself like me. I've been sitting there thinking, well, I want to get back to the live streams and getting my videos out. Excuse me. What am I going to create? And then that, of course, led to, well, I'll go look on Pixabay or Unsplash and countless hours of scrolling in hopes that one image just might be like that, oh, inspiring. I'm going to create this. So, yeah, how much time wasted? How much time do we waste doing that? So I thought, you know what? Let's just go over a few things that we can do if you find yourself like that, where you're just kind of stuck and you don't know what you want to create. You know, you want to create something, but you just don't know what. So first, I'm going to bring you down to the desk and let's talk about like the old standby, right? How many times have you done it? Like, I just don't know what to create. So I'm going to swatch all my pretty colors because maybe that will get you inspired. Well, I did that. It didn't. Like, I was very excited to finally get, this is my Schminke, the super granulating set. And I finally got them all swatched out. And look, they're beautiful. Like, look how beautiful they are. There's quite a few, I think, that are so similar to others that I've said that before. That I find them a little repetitive. You don't necessarily need everyone, unless you have, full set syndrome. And then, by all means, you do you. No judgment here. Clearly, no judgment here. But yeah, so I swatched all of those out and it just didn't do it. And then I had received a gift of the Making Art for Joy's Sake palette, and that was by Christy Rice. Now, this was not sent to me by Christy. This was sent to me by a patron, and so I thought, oh, I'll swatch that palette. I'm really curious to see how those colors are. She has a very unique palette. Art for Joy's Sake. She does a lot of florals, so this makes sense to me for the type of work that she does. But yeah, I got to see how they reacted, if they moved. I like some of the colors. I'm not sure how any of them, like, I don't know the pigments that are in them. I don't know. Brain just first day back, brain's gone. If they're light fast, that's what I was trying to say. So I don't know the pigments. I don't know if, they're light fast or hard, how they are, but can I just say for a moment, this is her Art for Joy's Sake palette. So does it matter? I don't think so. In my opinion, no. If you're just creating this to spark joy and have fun, it doesn't matter. If you're creating art that you're selling, then I would agree that it does matter. So, swatching. How much fun do you have swatching? I mean, some we love swatching, and occasionally I do like to swatch. But that just did not break me out of that, like, creative block. I needed something more. So again, countless hours of scrolling, just thinking, well, what can I do? What can I create? I don't know what I want to create. What do I enjoy creating? I was to the point where I was like, I didn't even know what I liked to create. You know, it was like I couldn't even, just nothing would come to mind. Like, I could just close my eyes and just nothing would come to mind. So I thought, there's got to be stuff that we can do that just kind of gets everything moving and gets us into that side of our brain that's creative and says, let's go. So I'm using today, I have my Daniel Smith gouache here in case I decide to use that. And then I have Daniel Smith watercolors up here, with the exception of one. This, if I use Potter's Pink, this is Winsor Newton Potter's Pink. And you're going to hear me say it, I prefer it over the Daniel Smith Potter's Pink, because let me show you why. Let me not just throw that out there without backing up why. So if you see here, this is the Winsor Newton Potter's Pink. This is my Daniel Smith Potter's Pink. Both were swatched from after they had dried in the half pan. See the bubbles in this? It's almost like the binder, or it was almost like bubbles, like soapy bubbles type of thing. And you see the shimmer it left? Yeah. And then you see the Winsor Newton Potter's Pink. Like, it granulates beautifully. And they're both PR 233. But there's just something about now Daniel Smith Potter's Pink, like straight out of the tube, that may be a completely different story. I haven't used it that way yet, because of course I got it, dried it in a half pan so I could get it in a palette. And then I ended up swatching what was in that palette. So yeah, I think that's the first time you've heard me say something that I don't like from Daniel Smith. But you know, it happens, and that's fine. I just prefer, out of the two of them, I prefer the Winsor Newton Potter's Pink. So just a little thing to share. But that's what I'm using today. I'm using my Daniel Smith watercolors. I've got the Daniel Smith gouache here. And I'm using I thought it was fitting, bee-inspired watercolor paper. So there are links in the description for all of these things. So links are below. chose to use this one. I could have, and I took the 9x12 paper and I just cut them in half. I could have chosen to use the other bee watercolor paper that I very much like, which is 100% cotton, which is already 9x6 size. So that's this paper. But for what we're going to do today, this is just, let's get inspired. So do I really want to use one of my better watercolor papers on that? No. So yeah, I'm going to use the Bee Inspired paper. This is their cellulose paper. The other one is 100% cotton. And the 100% cotton has, you can get it in 90 pound or you can get it in 140 pound. I have both. I like both. Excuse me. It's just a matter of one's a little less, one's a little thinner than the other. But I think they both work well. If I'm going to be throwing a lot of water at it, of course, I'll grab my 140 pound. But if I'm not, then the 90 works just fine. So, yeah. Okay. So that's what we're going to be using. So let me just take a moment and say hi to everybody, because it's been a while. I got Teresa and Rob are here, and Tara and Joseph, my moderators, of course, they are here. And we have D-Lynn Creative Arts. So hello to everybody. And those of you who are watching, if you've been here before, welcome back. And if it's your first time, welcome. If it is your first time, or if you're not subscribed yet, and you want to join in the live chat community, hit that subscribe button. We're getting really close to our goal of hitting 1,000. We're just 114 away. So if it's something you've been considering, I greatly appreciate it if you smash that thumbs up and hit subscribe. I plan on being back on a more regular basis now. And yeah, I'm feeling better, ready to get back to work. So let's talk about things we can do when we're just not feeling the creativity, but we want to create. I mean, I was getting physically depressed. I wasn't creating. Time was going by, and it seemed like the end of the week. I've still kept up with all with my patrons. We have our live chats every Friday. We've actually done a couple studio hangouts. We do them on Zoom. You can join our interactive live studio hangouts. That's available through Patreon. And so we've had fun. I mean, I've kept up. My patrons have seen me. I just haven't been on YouTube so much. However, that's going to be changing. We're back. But I was physically getting depressed because every Friday would come. I'd be like another live chat with patrons, and I'd be like, God, I haven't done anything this week. I haven't created any art. And yes, I've been sick. So, you know, but still, I was wanting to create, and I wasn't. Even if it would have been like, I don't know, grab like my sketchbook and doodle or something. I just wasn't doing anything art related, and it was really kind of starting to get depressing. So I don't know if you're a creative like myself and all of a sudden you can't or don't create for a while. It was like the longer I was going, the harder it was getting to bring myself back. And that just added to, you know, those down feelings. But knowing I wanted to come back and, you know, get back into this, bring that joy back, it was like, what am I going to paint? What am I going to paint? Like I had to come back and just do boom, like a painting, right? No, you don't. You don't. So let's look at one thing that we can do. And see, yeah, so it's not just me. Rob says, I've been feeling the same. I've been struggling to get back in the saddle. Yeah, it's just like, it's almost like we get in this rut. And I think I said it to patrons. I'm like, somebody send a tow truck because I am so far in the rut. I just need to get pulled back out. Okay, see, and it's not, thanks, Tara. It's not just me. It's not just me. And that's why I thought this would be a good way to start back. Let's get out of that. Let's break the funk. Let's get creative. Let's get feeling good. One of the things, and you know, you guys, you're all right there with me. And I have to say, like, huge shout out to my patrons. Like, I can't thank you guys enough. Your words of encouragement, your words of support, like the entire time that I was ill, really did keep me going. And I'm getting everything caught back up with them. Some things have changed. So, you know, check out Patreon if it's something you might be interested in. Let's get started. First off, how about just take a piece of paper? Any piece of paper. It can be bigger than this. It can be, you could cut them down smaller, but for this, we're going to do something with this. So we're going to do a few things. I'm going to show you that at the end. So you're going to want to wait and see, like, there is a purpose to what we're doing aside from just getting out of this creative funk that we're in. I think today I'm using my silver black velvet brushes. And these are linked in the description. And the ones that I have all came in a set together. And I've shared these with you guys before. I think this is a great set for watercolor. You have a rigger or a script liner. You have a number 4 round, a number 10 round, and a 1/2 inch wash or stroke. They call it a stroke, but you know, a flat. This is perfect. If you are wanting to play around with watercolor and just get started, you can just start with a basic set just like this and go from there. And this will do you just fine. So those are the brushes I'm using today. Excuse me. I was like, just before I was starting, I was doing something that I want to show you guys at the end, and I needed it to be dry. So I was working on that, and that's why I was a couple minutes behind. All right. First off, like I said, if you read the description, we don't need a reference photo. In fact, for this one, we're just going to get crazy. You can choose any colors that you think will go together. You can go monochromatic. Whatever you want. This is whatever you choose. Now you can do this with, if you like to paint, I sometimes used to paint with acrylics on paper. I liked it. It could be watercolor paper. I would just throw a layer of gesso on it first. Once the gesso was on it and it dried, then the watercolor paper didn't try to suck all the moisture out of my acrylics real fast, and so it gave me more working time. But I liked to paint with acrylic on paper sometimes. You can do whatever you want. You can do this in watercolor pencils. You could do it in ink tints. If you wanted to do it in colored pencils, whatever you want. I'm sorry, I was just cracking my knuckles. I didn't even realize I was doing it. Okay. So for water soluble, like gouache or watercolor, which is what I'm using today, I'm just going to start and I'm going to wet some of my paper. I'm not worried about if I've wet it all. I don't know what that was. If I've missed some spots, doesn't matter. Just have fun. I probably didn't clean my water well very well last time, and that little speck was probably something I pulled out of my water well. All right. So we are just going to then take some colors, any color. What's the first color that grabs your attention? Or what is like one of your favorite colors? I think this Lunar Blue, so this is Lunar Blue by Daniel Smith, which is a gorgeous color. I'm just going to take some, I'm just going to drop it in here and there on my, I am not like thinking I'm going to paint a sky or I'm just dropping some in. Doesn't matter to me how it ends up. My paper is already like the struggle to keep things from drying in the studio is still a thing. Let me bring this down a little further so you guys can see the. Oh, I put this upside down. I'm seeing, I have my swatch card up here so I can see what colors are what. I did not just grab, I think I just went into Moon Glow and then back to Lunar Blue, but that's okay. I'm going to end up focusing on the entire paper. I want to go from one side to the other. And I think maybe I'm just going to do this one in blues. Why not? Get some, spatter some in there. Let's grab us another blue. How about Sodalite? Sodalite Genuine. That's this one. I love that color. It is also another granulating color. If you like granulating colors, Sodalite's beautiful blue. And it doesn't matter how I orient my paper for this at all. And of course, I'm not getting out to my edges, which we will. Let's focus on that. And there's definitely a reason. Now, I could have taped this down if I wanted to. But that might have given me some weird edge at the end, which you'll understand later. I could even use a much larger brush for this because I'm working in, you know, large areas of the paper. And you can see my paper's buckling. It doesn't matter for this, okay? It does not matter. If I leave some white space, do you see a theme here? Doesn't matter. How about, is there some ultramarine in there? Why not? Or, no, let's go phthalo. I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to decide what's going to go. They're all blues, so it's actually, we're going to come over here to this one. And, oh, this is a Schminke. I've got a couple of Schminke colors up here. This is Schminke, which is PB 74, Pigment Blue 74. I apologize. I didn't write the name down. So what is the name? Not sure. I'd have to look it up. It's kind of like very close to an ultramarine. And just splattering some in there. Look at the separation I'm getting here. Like with this is the lunar blue. That right there. Love that color. All right, how about I think I'm going to go with a little moon glow, which is not black, but it is dark. And I'm just going to put a few bits here and there. Actually, I'm going to orient my paper different. And moon glow is another one that likes to separate. I feel like the whole thing is kind of dark and moody. Maybe throw something in there that's a little more cheery. Oh, thanks, Rob. I've missed hanging out with you guys a lot. A lot. I'm going back to lunar blue. And if you see in my lunar blue, let me hold this up. You can see, look at that separate, like in the water. See how light that is? When I mix it up, see, it becomes much darker. It'll set it beautifully separating color. Throw a little bit more of that in there. And then I think we'll put this one aside and move on. It has like almost a teal like when it starts to separate. Beautiful. Okay. So this was like the least fun to watch, this one. That's why I did it first. Right? Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys enjoy it, but Like, that's the least amount of fun. So we're doing this, and what are we doing? Right now, we're just getting our brains to start looking at color. What colors do we like with other colors? What kind of mood are we in? It's going to come through. I've been down. I've been blue. I've missed doing this. Now, let me just, another thing that we can do while this is all nice and wet, maybe I want to come in, and this is a great way to do clouds. So I'm just going to take a piece of tissue, and I was using this before for art, before the stream. And you see, I just want it jagged. I don't want that edge to be perfect. I want those torn edges. You can also do this with like paper towel, kitchen roll, depending on where you are in the world. Now, I'm just going to kind of ball that up, and I have those frilled edges towards the bottom. I can just come in and kind of blot and move that around. I'm going to get different, well, I've got different levels of wetness on this, so of course I'm going to have different amounts of lifting. Some colors are more staining than others. So there we go. All right, now we're going to let this, we're just going to let it dry. I'm going to set it aside. Purpose of this type of thing, and I could have done, like I said, any color, whatever colors you like. If you like pinks, reds, do that. If you love orange, maybe, you want that energy of that color. Do oranges and yellows and reds, anything you want. You're just gonna take a piece of paper, throw the color at it any way you can. And then just set it aside, let it dry. All right. You can also do this on, like, if you have a watercolor card. I use this is a watercolor card taped to one of the little boards that I get from the Dollar Tree. I always write fold on the side where the fold is, because once it's taped, you don't necessarily remember if it's been taped for a little while. Trust me. Then you'll paint your card the wrong way. But something like what we just did, there is no right or wrong way. So you could paint it any way you wanted to. But you could do that as like the background for a card. And then come back and go over it with like an acrylic paint pen or something and decorate it, or whatever inspires you. Okay. So then we're going to take just another piece of paper. This time I want to get my brain really starting to think a bit more. What is something that you like? I know you don't usually see me paint them often, but say I'm talking on the phone, or God forbid I have to call somewhere and I'm on hold for who knows how long. One of the things I find myself doing, especially if there's an envelope, a scrap of paper, whatever, lying around on the counter, I'll be sitting there doodling. My go-to doodle is always a flower. I doodle more flowers. I hardly ever paint them. So perhaps there's something, maybe you doodle mushrooms, or, whatever it is, something that you find when you're in an activity that you're not really thinking about it, but you're just kind of, doodling. Or what is it that you draw? Drop me a comment. What is it that you will doodle when you, or maybe you don't doodle, I don't know. But when you're not thinking about me, it always seems to be flowers, and I really don't paint them. Like, it doesn't, I'm not really a floral. I don't know. Just doesn't, that doesn't usually tend to grab me. But I know that my brain will go there. Sometimes if, like I said, I'm bored, it'll doodle that. I'm going to paint some. So I'm just going to take my, again, any color. What color flowers do I want? I can do all different color flowers. I am taking Rose of Ultramarine. Again, that is Daniel Smith. Okay, let me grab a piece of paper towel. Oh, that last one that we did, another thing that we could have done while that was all still wet, we could have just sprinkled salt all over it to give it more texture. That's something else you could have done. Okay, I'm just pulling some of the moisture out of this. There we go. So let's start making some basic flower shapes. Doesn't matter how big or small they are. It doesn't matter how many petals they have. All right, we're just going to do some basic flower shapes. Rob's, well, okay, it jumped. Where'd it go? There we go. An animal. Right? Okay, so see, doodles. If your doodles are birds or animals, just do some. And you don't have to paint it first. You could, you see, let me see if it'll pick up on the side. Pick up on that side cam. There we go. I am just taking the point, pressing, and lift up. So point, press, lift, and it'll give me the point on the end of my petal. Okay. You could grab a pen, just like as if you were on hold on the phone or sitting there doodling. You could grab a micron. If you're going to watercolor later, you grab like a micron or another liner that won't bleed later. Do it in regular ink. You could sketch it in pencil. Whatever you like to do. I doodle swirls, Dylan says. Perfect. You can do swirls. Whatever it is that your brain is its go-to. This is what it's go-to doodle if you would. Just do some of those. And so I'm going to just get a little extra water there. And I'm not going to worry about if these are growing from the ground, what direction. I'm just doing the flower part. Drop some more in and just kind of let that spread out. So we're going to do a few. They don't all have to be the same. I know right now I'm making them all pretty similar. They don't have to be. I want to do one more like that. I can go. You're not seeing on the side what I'm doing, but you can see. And see, I started fidgeting with it. I shouldn't. Just let it be what it is. Just let it be. Okay. And then I'm going to grab another color. And I'm going to grab my flat brush this time. And maybe this time I'm going to use wisteria. I'm just going to try a different shape. I'm not quite liking that one for a flower, but you know, it's fine. We do it like that. I'm not, see, now again, I just did that. I'm like, you know, I'm not really enjoying that one for flower shape. That's fine. Just use a different brush. Just going to go back to my number 10 round. I think I'm going to take a little bit of that Rose of Ultramarine. Too much water on my brush. I think I'm going to just drop in a little at the base there. And it's probably too late to drop it into this one. I'm sure it's not wet anymore, but that's okay. You just see what that does. Let's go with yellow. One of the things that I have to remind myself is don't avoid the edge of the paper. In fact, I could go right off the edge of the paper. That's really bright. That looks really bright. And this is Hansa Yellow Medium by Daniel Smith. I mean, unless, other than the, like I said, the Potter's Pink, these are all Daniel Smith. And these look kind of just like my other one. But how easy is it, right? Just petals. Bringing in the petals. If you're doing swirls, you're just putting swirls, you know, here and there and all over your page. Or little animals. Perhaps you like to doodle different types of animals, and you're just going to put a bunch of those on your paper. See, my brain is trying, you see my brain's trying to keep balance here, right? Like I'm trying to spread out what I'm doing. It does not matter. My brain's doing it to me. That's what it wants to do, but it doesn't matter. And you're going to see why later, but right now, I can't stop it. That's what it wants to do. I'm going to take a little bit of Indian red and just dot some centers in. And it doesn't matter how it spreads. Look at that. Now all of a sudden, here's a flower. Yes, exactly. Yes. That's what I'm doing. Like when I doodle, if I'm put on hold, because it absolutely just distracts me from whatever, you know, hold music or the fact that I am still on hold, however much time later. All right. So that's Piedmont Genuine right here. I'm going to grab a little bit of that. And I'm just going to add it to the middle. It's a little bit darker. That one's still a puddle. That's okay. There. Maybe I'll use that in the centers of these. I'm not going to see the center of that one, so that's fine. I need more flowers. And I could even let this dry, and if I wanted to, come over with gouache and like cover, you know, to go over some of my other flowers. I could have doodled these all out first and then just filled them in with color. All right, so I did wisteria. How about some ultramarine violet? I have a purple flower. And all the flowers, like maybe this one. I don't want to do one that's not round. Like I don't want to do one that's going like straight up, because then I would need a stem. You know what I mean? Like a lupin or something like that. But I can. Kind of sketch. So you see, just using my brush like I would if I was sitting here doodling. This is where I need like Joseph. Joseph comes up with so many different types of flowers. When he did his skateboard, like there's so many flowers there. I'm thinking, sitting here trying to do these now because I'm wanting to think about it. I'm going, what do flowers look like again? And if I do one that's a little wonky or not quite right, it really does not matter. So you get the point. Like, I'm not going to keep doing this entire thing. I'm going to fill up one part so that later for the next step, you'll completely understand where I was going with this. Let's see. I think I want to do kind of like, I'm trying to think like pansies. I have the pansies outside. Aren't pansies like 3? I'm going to do this wet and wet. So it's going to show up in a minute. Right, and then I come back to do the other after. And pansy, we're going to go with I'm thinking I'm going brain's like, make a decision. I don't know. Going with Indian red. We're going to let that start to spread. Yep. I'm gonna come back to this one later. Okay, and then I would just close my eyes and just dip a color. I would just keep doing these and just build this whole page, flower over flower over flower. And again, I could switch to gouache so that if I wanted to paint one here and it went over this one, you know, it would be opaque and it would cover that. Or just keep filling them in, doodle them all out first, then fill them in. I'm going to go with ooh, you know what? That will be a flower later. Let's drop some of this bright yellow in here too. Maybe the outer edges of our petals have yellow. Is there a pansy that looks like this? I don't know. But ours does today. And that would have to be dry to do the two petals behind it, but it's all still wet right now. So there's another idea. Just take what your brain likes to doodle and put it on a piece of paper. Fill that paper and then go back and paint it. Now, like I said, we're going to come back to this in a little bit and you're going to see what happens with these after. All right. Another thing that you can do, I took one of my pieces of paper and I taped it off. Now, when I taped it, I'm using the thin masking, and I like this, the lighter color, for a reason. Excuse me. I've got the black, and it's a little thicker than this, but I've got the black. There's a reason I don't like the black. When I'm working with the lighter tape, you can see when I tape it down, I can see right through the tape, so I know that my tape is like half on and half off my paper. I don't have to guess. Because I can see through it, I can see that my edge going around is going to be about the same width. So what I've done here is I've taped all the edges off. So that's half the width. So half the width all the way around. Then in the center, I put a piece. And then from the white space that was left, the paper, I went in the center of that. I didn't measure it. I just eyeballed it. This is not, it's not rocket science. We don't have to be exact. So I did that. So now I have 4 little panels. I can do these panels however I want to. I can do them this way, or I can do them this way. Doesn't matter. Ideas for things to do. You can take like the swirls, and let me just kind of show you what's going to happen with this. So once that's all done, you're just going to start. So now we started with just throwing color at paper. Then we went to what does our brain like to doodle when we're just, you know, on hold or passing time, or we're stuck on the phone, or whatever the case may be, that you go because you're bored and you go to doodling. What is our brain? What's our go-to? Let's use that to help start getting that creative energy going. Now we can take it a step further. What is something that you really find yourself painting most often? Is it landscapes? Is it flowers? Is it animals? Whatever it is, now you can take these little mini, again, either orient it this way or orient it this way, and create little mini paintings. You don't need a lot of detail here. You don't need a reference photo. If I'm doing a landscape, let's just do a landscape. This time I'm gonna do one this way. I'm gonna start, and I'm just gonna get my sky wet. Here we go. Get that area of my paper nice and wet. I'm gonna come over here, jump right into that ultramarine, and start laying in some sky. I'm going to want it to get lighter as it goes towards the horizon. Now I'm going to reload my brush, start at the top again. Okay. I want the top of it to be darker. I can tip it if I want to, so to kind of help it drift down and blend in. Okay. Now, in my sky, I'd like some clouds. Back to the tissue, grabbing a piece. Just going to kind of bunch that up. And up high, closest to us, I'm going to go with some larger shapes. Now I've used that a couple times. I'm going to just kind of turn. I'll get some different shapes. And you see I'm moving my hand, right? Now, as I move further down, if I want to continue my clouds, now I'm folding this and I'm getting it tinier, because as clouds move away from you, they get thinner. And eventually it would actually only be, they flatten out. When they're up nice and close, those are bigger. Okay. Grabbing just color. Just dropping in a little bit of color here and there. Again, this is drying so quickly. If this was not drying as fast, I'd be getting so much better clouds. I'm just touching these bottom edges because I don't want them to have any hard lines. Just kind of blending that out. And again, further away from me. Clouds flatten out, so I'm just doing just the tip of my brush with some of this darker and going over, and that just helps imply some shadow in those clouds that are further away. Just the tip. And then we just have a little sky. That's it. Don't want to fuss too much with it, and I'm just going to leave that be. So if I let this dry, because if I come back right now and put like some grass or some hills back here, it's going to bleed into my sky. So I'm just going to give it a quick dry. Okay. Now that that's dry, I'm going to get some green. I have some here because I was using it earlier. And this is a cooler green. Has a little bit of blue in it. And in fact, I'm going to grab a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to just lay in a hill in the background. I'm not trying to make my line straight. Then I'm going to dip my brush in my water. And I'm just going to come right back along that bottom edge and bring it to the bottom of my section. There you go. Oh, that was not the right green. Not the right green. Just coming back with some of the green that I just had. Because right now I just made all of this wet. And I'm just going to pull it down. Okay, there's my distant hill. Again, this needs to be dry. And I'm not doing all of these. I've already got some prepared for you. So we're going to do the one, and then I'm going to show you. I'm going to mute you because I'm going to dry this again. And let me bring you full screen on the desk. There we go. Now, I don't need that to be 100%, but I mean, it's pretty much. It's pretty dry. So next, as I come forward, if I did another hill, I'm going to want that to be a little warmer because it's moving, it's closer to me. So I'm just going to grab some of this warmer green. And I'm just going to do one more. And I'm not going to follow the same. I can even break that one if I need to. There we go. It's got quite the bump there. Let's try to round that out. It doesn't look like a hill. It looks almost like it's a mountain. There we go. Okay. I'm grabbing a little bit more yellow in with that green, and I'm just going to pull down to the bottom. And if I have some areas that are darker down here, it doesn't matter. In fact, I can spatter some in there. It will be fine. There we have some hills. But I'm going to let this dry for a moment. I'm not going to dry it, but I'm going to let it dry for a moment because I'm going to switch it up. Oops, not that one. I'm going to grab my little number 4 because I could use my rigger. In fact, that would hold a lot of, you don't need this. I could very well use this. My point will be what I want. Okay, so I could use this. If you didn't have something small enough or with a fine enough point, you certainly could use a rigger. I want to have, I'm going in with the Pyro Red. And that's still, yeah, that's still a little too wet. If I do it now, it's going to spread a lot. I need it to be almost dry because I want it to spread very minimally. And I'm just going to dot in like some flowers in the distance, like it's a field of poppies coming towards me. Let me just give it a little, just a little. See, I lifted with my finger. Okay. I want them lighter in the distance. Get my extra water out of that. So I'm just going to dab, barely touch, just here and there. I could cover this area and splatter them in if I wanted to. I'm trying to be careful not to create any specific pattern and not to drag my brush. I did it there, but I could cover this and cover the upper part and just spatter through this one little section if I wanted to make sure it was definitely, you know, to look more organic. I don't think that's bad. So now I'm going to come in, bring a little bit more Pyro Red into that because that was watered down. And then I'm going to make some more, and these I'm going to make a little larger. See, I just did a line. I don't want a line. It's hard. Your brain's going to want to like make patterns. It's kind of hard to break that up. That's what I like about spattering, because then you just get that very organic. Now down here, I'm going to make a few that are closer. And these ones are going to be a little bit bigger. And some I'm painting more on the tape and some more up into the grass. I also want to make sure that I'm not evenly spacing these. Okay, and then some of them I'm just going to give a little tiny using my Lunar Black. I'm just putting a little dot in the centers of some ones that look like maybe it's the, I'm seeing the open part of the flower. Okay, good enough. So it's just a little landscape, and I didn't need a reference photo. Those little flowers didn't have to be anything special. They're just little dots, but your brain says it's field flowers. It knows. So when you do these, so that's just one. And then I could turn it back this way and I could go on to do another. If I wanted to do splatter or something on someone, like sometimes I'll take, this is the mixing part for my gouache palette. I'll cover it like that, or maybe cover, the part I haven't worked on yet with paper towel. And I can spatter, I can do whatever I want to in that space without damaging the ones on either side. I could do monochromatic. I could do whatever comes to mind when you start painting. Just paint a solid color and go from there. Let's look at a few that I did, and I will show you what I'm doing with those. So just before the stream, I painted these guys. I really think I loved the way these leaves came out. And I'll show you how I did those. I was very excited about those leaves. Like that and that was it right there. Like that was the thing that inspired me. These leaves. I was like, oh my gosh, look at the way those came out. Loved them. I love that D-Lynn said swirls. Like I was talking about, like, you can do this is just swirls, some dots, some spatter. You do whatever you want. Now, the reason that we taped it like this is once these are all dry, we can come back and remove, right, the most satisfying part. Now, this feels like it's gonna, there we go. It was feeling like it was sticking to the paper a little bit. I could have heated that up with my heat gun to get that to come off a little more cleanly. So we're gonna peel these off so that you guys didn't even have to sit through all of the watching all of them be painted. So this is similar to the one that I did just a moment ago, only I did it vertically instead of horizontally. And of course, yeah, I just tore a little bit of that paper. So note to self, this tape likes to stick on this paper. I would probably want to use my heat tool and warm that tape up and would come right off. All right. And this one, I thought about it after the fact. I was like, once I started doing that, I was like, that would have been really cool if I had painted, like, just done a really light wash of ultramarine so it looked like the blue sky behind it. But it doesn't matter. I also like the way it came out, just the way it is now. But those leaves, ugh. I was like, the variation in color, some of the lines in them, and it was a single stroke. Those were all single stroke. It's wanting to rip. And I don't want it to rip because that one will really show up. There we go. And it is what it is. Okay. So now if you notice, because let me get this awful mat out of the way now. Once we've done are stuff like this, or our flowers, or, you know, our just random color. These, I'm going to show you in a moment. Like this, you know where I know that you guys know where I'm going with this. These we can turn into bookmarks. I need to get a new cutter. This one does not like to cut so much anymore. Now, the reason that I focused on the tape being half the width around here and the full width here is because now if I cut perfectly in the center of this, or at least as close as I can get. So I'm going to take my cutter. I'm going to try to evenly space that best I can on both sides. I mean, I could measure it out and put a mark, but we're not that particular. It missed. I got new blades for this, and they're not exactly the same as the ones that originally came on it. So it doesn't like to cut very well. There we go. So see, now I have pretty much a uniform border all the way around. Now I can take this. I have a this one where they're not, you know, I don't have a color. All I'm going to do is look at my spacing. So my line where I know my cut's going to be, I'm just trying to judge roughly where it would be, you know, to be kind of centered and have it, the space equal to what's around the rest of it. But these just were not the same. It's not the same blade, apparently, as what was originally. They look the same color, but they're not the same. And then same for this one. Because my other ones, when they cut through, I mean, it just would whiz right down through it, but it was getting so dull. There we go. Okay. I'll need that again in a moment. So now I have a laminating machine. And what I plan to do is just take these, put it in a piece of laminate, pass it through the machine, and laminate them. Then when I cut that out, I'll leave a little bit bigger of a border so that I can hole punch the top and maybe put a tassel in there. And of course, I'll make a bookmark. You could sell these, guys. Like, you could sell your bookmarks. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but you get creative. And now perhaps it sparked something. Like Rob says that the flowers are my favorite. And you know what, Rob? They were my favorite too. Look at that. So what I did was, once it dried, I took my Micron pen and I just went around the outline of the flower. And I'll do this one again because this is very, very easy, very quick to do. So simple. And show you exactly how I went about that one. But once it's dry, I just took my, Micron pen. Where are my flowers? It doesn't even matter. You do not have to, all the paint wasn't inside the line. I went outside. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. I love it. I love the way that one came out. That's definitely my favorite too. You guys will have to let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. And then of course we have the one that I just did, which is going to go this way. So there'll be that one too. Which one is your favorite? I am going to leave that one there. Put these aside. Now, so when you do your flowers, like this one, I can sit here and just real quick, don't overthink it. That like didn't, I need my, I could get a thicker micron pen, but right? Flower, done. Here I can, and if I want to, I can, and let me grab a better liner. That one's just not wanting to go. There we go. And I can pull these like they're behind. And I can dot my centers if I want to. So I would kind of do the rest of those the same. Again, I'm not going to do all of them because I'm just going to show you. You'll completely get the gist of this. Right? I can do some more. So with this guy, lots of lines, right? Oh, thank you. Oh, you have a wonderful day as well. Thanks for stopping by. Right? So you see, like that one, I didn't go all the way. I just went part because I wanted a petal to be in front of it. So I can do some of these first. And then others I can have be behind. I do not have to worry about staying in all the lines. There's some dots in there. My daisy, ready? My pansy. Now, remember I said pansies have the other two petals in the back? And they kind of go like this. So perhaps on this one, those rear petals are white. Why not? And then we had this one I told you was going to be a flower. It is. You see, I went right off the page with it. It can go behind this flower. And this is where like the doodling can come into play, because if I want flowers to go behind others, I can draw them in and come back and add any color if I want to. And there we go, we got a daisy. So now you can do quick doodles first and then throw your color on. What we do with these. So imagine that this is all covered with flowers. And then I'm going to come in and again, I'm just going to approximate. If I was doing this, if I actually had these all done, I would shoot for making them even. Like mark it. Sometimes when I'm doing these, like now I know that that spot is center. And then I can do the same thing. I would actually measure it. And this is why I'm saying it doesn't matter where they are. and you want to work all the way to the edges of your paper. Because now I can take, and I would cut this one as well. I'd have 4. And then I would just take these and I'd put them in a stack. And now if I were, say, giving a gift to someone and I needed a quick note or a thank you note or something like that, I can use these little cards and I can cut them larger. Like if I only wanted to quarter a 9x12 so that I have larger ones like postcard size, I can do that too. And then your designs are just on it. Let's look at like this guy. If I wanted a border around mine, just like I did my bookmarks, I would do this the same way. I would tape off so there was half the width of my tape all the way around the edges. And then if I wanted them this size, I would just put one full strip of tape up the center. And then I'd have the same border all the way around and I'd have 2 cards. If I wanted them to be 4, I would put one straight across the center this way and straight across the center this way. Because then when I take that tape off, I can cut in the center and I have the nice border all the way around. So if you like that border, that is something that you can do. You would still go about painting it exactly the same way as if your tape wasn't there. So now, if I wanted these to be larger note cards, and this is still a little damp, that's why it's curled. And if it was curled because I put so much water on it and I wanted this to be flat, all I'd have to do is flip it over, grab like a little mister, mist the back of that, and then lay something heavy on it and let it dry. And it'll flatten it right out. So now I have these little cards that, again, I can write a little note on the back of. And if I wanted to, I could come in and, write happy birthday or get well or sorry you've got the blues. Anything you want. I could come in with gouache. I could paint something over the top of this. Or I could just leave them like this, just abstract little note cards. Write your little message. So there's a whole bunch that you can do with that. So getting out of that creative funk, you can also do these little activities that get your brain going and gets that creative side of your brain working, but then also gives you something that you can use out of it as well. I love the little bookmark idea. Doing like the little mini scenes. I just think those are fun. I could have done, sunset. I could have just done a gradient. Does not have to be anything fancy. So for this guy, this is what I did. I'm going to put him right over here. So I used my number 10 round when I did that one. And that was done. That one just happened to be paint that was left on my palette. I don't even know what colors were the mix for that. But I'm pretty sure it was had some, I'm going to go with some Rose of Ultramarine. And maybe a little bit of ultramarine violet. Let's mix those two together. Perfect. All right. So now I want a lighter version of that. I'm just tapping on there. I want to get some of that water out of my brush. If I touch the base of my brush, it's going to draw some of the water out of the belly. All right, and I start by just laying in where I want a flower. Whatever shape your flower is, but I'm just repeating like what I did for that one. Just darkening it up a little bit. All right. And then I went right to the next one. I didn't grab any more paint. It doesn't matter if it's lighter. And then I did one that was kind of looking up towards the sky. All right. Now, for the tops, and I put those a little closer than the other ones, but it doesn't matter. I grabbed my Rose of Ultramarine. And see, this part of the paper is dry, appears dry, and then the bottom part is wet, so it's going to kind of feather that out. Kind of looking like a purple coneflower, some echinacea. Let me just dab some of that in. I don't want my edge to be smooth. If you see in this one, like that edge is really quite jagged. There we go. Okay, so there's my top, and I'm going to throw some in the center of these. Not being fussy. This one still has a lot of water on there. I'm just taking a point and drawing up a little bit of that water. There we go. I'm just dabbing that in its mass tone, just full strength. Rose of Ultramarine from my palette. Okay. There's our flowers. Our flowers are done. That's it. Now, for the stems, I took some sap green. Kind of wiping off some excess here. And I started at the base and I brought a line. Can you guys, yeah, you guys can see that. I brought a line up to each one and stopped just as I was getting to the flower. Because these petals are still wet, it could bleed up into them. So I stopped just before I got there. Because remember, I'm going to take my pigment liner and I'm going to line them, the flower, the petals anyways. So it doesn't matter if it's not 100% touching. I'm getting as close as I can, but trying not to touch. So then my second one is going to come up. It's going to go behind. So when I go behind, I will retrace my line without touching the paper so that I can come right through the flower and pick it back up where I want it on the other side. And see, that one I touched. But we can just give a quick dab, get some of that off of there. Again, don't worry about it if it happens. It's fine. You could wait for your flowers to dry and do this step. And that would work too. Okay. So now for the leaves, I just went straight into the sap green, loaded my brush up. To do the ones that are tipped, I started with my point. And let me see if I can get I don't know if the side camera will also pick it up. See if I can bring this up here so you can kind of over here see the way the brush goes. So I started with the point, following that up. I got a little bit further away and then tipped down and let it go. And there was my folded over leaf. Again, I just did a few of those. And pulled it down and let it go to a point. If I wanted a regular leaf, and it doesn't matter if I go in front of one of the other ones. And this is wet on dry. Every time I make a leaf, I just go right over as if, you know, the other's not behind there. I just paint right over it. I think we need another one up here. And I start by pushing down and then lifting the pressure away, and so that it leaves you right with the point on that paper. So I start by pushing down so I get the belly of the brush, and then lift out the point. And it gives you that thinner leaf. I like that one better, but again, it's fine. If you did enough like that, you'd probably start to pick up a pattern of the way you did your leaves as well. Okay. And I went over onto the tape. And the reason I went over, you know, painted down onto the tape is so that when I remove the tape, I have that flat line and it just kind of looks like it's growing up out of the ground. So there, I'm going to let those set. Now I could come back and add a little bit more, you know, that really bothered me, but to kind of take care of some of the green. I'm going to lift it though, because I still want it to be light in color like the rest of the flower. Okay, that has to be dry. So let's talk about, let's do a real quick one. Like I said, you could just do a gradient. For this one, I'm going to use my flat brush. And I'm going to take my flat brush. I am going to wet this whole section. All right, I'm gonna let that set for a moment so some of that water can soak in. Because right now, you see how wet, you see how glossy it is. It's like reflecting. I'm gonna let that get a little less before I go trying to put color in there. And I'm gonna start with my Pyro Red, and I'm gonna work my way to Hansa Yellow Medium. So now I don't need to go back into my water. I want this full strength from my palette. Plenty of my Pyro Red. I'm going to start right in at the top. And I'm going to work my way. And you'll see as I work my way, it starts to get lighter because I don't have as much paint left in my brush. I'm going to let that be just like that. Rinse that brush out. And next I'm going to go to my, now if I worked in the reverse order, I wouldn't even have had to mess with rinsing out my brush. I could have just gone right into it. So I'm going to start here because I want that pure color. And I'm going to work my way up and overlap them. Okay, now I just went into the red, so I'm going to rinse that out. Clean water. A little bit more. And bring in that color. It's already starting to dry. Bring that color down. And I'm going to go to my Hansa Yellow Medium. Again, straight from my palette, not watered down at all. And there's my Hansa Yellow Medium. And I'm going to go up over that new gamboge. I need to rinse out. If I would have started with my yellow, there wouldn't be so much rinsing. Because I would have started from my lighter color and worked my way to my darker color. Now this is just water on my brush this time, not a ton of it, but I'm going to get wet to the bottom. And I'm just going to bring that till I reach the base. Get just a tad more of that in there. Okay, so when that dries, that is going to give me a nice smooth gradient. I could have done that with any color. I could have done it with blues. I also could have done it monotone if I wanted just a specific color, for example. Let's see. Again, decisions, right? This is one of these, just pick one. I'm going to go with the Lunar Blue. I love the moodiness of Lunar Blue. So I'm going to take my Lunar Blue. I didn't wet my, hold on. I didn't wet my spot first. I'm going to wet that paper first. Because I want that wet into wet. I want them to move and blend. Okay. So first I'm going to pick up my Lunar Blue as strong as I can. I have got plenty of Lunar Blue on this brush. My brush is loaded. I'm going to start at the top. There's a little bit too much water in there, but I'll come back through and do this again. And I'm going to work my way all the way down. I'm being careful here because this yellow, I don't want to pick up any of that yellow if I were to go over into my tape. There we go. I'm going to come back again. Again, I'm going to start at the top. A lot of water on this right now. I didn't wait like I did. Remember last time I waited a moment for some of that sheen to disappear? I didn't do that this time. I'm just working my almost all the way, but not quite all the way down. And I'm just repeating. You notice I'm not going back for any more water. I do not need any more water on my brush. There's plenty of water on this paper, and certainly plenty of water still in my palette. And each time, you're going to notice I'm stopping just a little bit sooner. I'm sorry, guys. I just totally stick my hand in the way over there. Okay. So now when that dries, I'm going to have a gradient from, really dark to light. And that was just with the one color. And again, it's just on working wet into wet. So you can do something as simple as that, which kind of falls back to like with these, you could do the same with the note cards. And you could work so that if you wanted your note cards to go from dark to light, you would do your lightest color in the center and work dark to each edge. Then when you cut them out, you would have a gradient on all of them. Again, utilizing your doodles, whatever your go-to doodle is, just pop that down on a piece of paper and just start doing it over and over again. And then take that and add some color to it. And when they're dry, you can cut them up into little cards. How cute would that be if there were like little cartoon puppies or cats or whatnot? I think that'd be so cool. And I saw, I'm going to share it with you guys in a moment. I'm going to let this dry. Let me see. I should have another piece of paper. I saw this. I'm going to do it live. First time with you guys. I've not actually tried it before. So why not live with you guys? I'm going to use this. Okay. So this is just like a scraper. Sometimes I use it to get stuff off the palette, whatnot. But today, you could use an old piece of card, gift card, credit card, whatever. All right. Are you ready for this? I wish I could. I do not know who I saw do it. I saw it on Instagram and I thought that is the cutest thing ever. Are you ready for this? And I don't know, you guys some of you may have already seen this, and I'm so bummed right now that I can't think of who it was, so I cannot give the artist who I saw do this first. I'm sure there's probably plenty of artists that have done it. But I like to give credit where credit is due to whoever, I saw do it first. I'm going to take it one little step further. Okay. Moody sky. I'm thinking I'm going with my soda light. Yes, Tara. In fact, Tara says that. Let me just hold on one second. I'm going to share. I had come up to the studio, Tara, and this is the bookmark Tara's talking about. Tara made this for me, and I thought it was beautiful. It's all like shimmery and metallics. She sent this with some very large candy bars from Ireland while I was feeling ill, which was just lifted my spirits. And that is what gave me, because that was sitting here in my studio. It sits, you guys can't even see me talking to you. It sits behind me over here. And I came up and I was like, ooh, if I sectioned one off, I could do little bookmarks like that. And so that credit to Tara, because that is what gave me the idea to tape the paper off for the bookmarks. But let's go back to the desk. All right. I thought this was the cutest thing in the world. I'm going to need plenty of, you could do this with ink. For sure, you could do this with ink. I'm going to do it, we're going to try it with the watercolor, and we're going to see what happens. First, because I said I want to take it a little step further, I want a sky. Oh, thanks, Rob, for being here. All right, you guys ready? Of course I still have it. All right. So I'm going to go with Sodalite. I'm going to put this in the bag. Look at that. Ugh, what? This is going to make like... Now, how's that for just doing like a quick sky? So you see how, like, as I move down, my brush is running out of paint. I get that gradient. I'm going to come back with just water and just go an extra space there. Okay. That'll just give me a softer edge. All right. Now, I'm just going to tip this so the color can run down for a moment. I got blue. I hope you guys are going to love this. Again, if I will have to see if I can find it in my feed, but you know how Instagram goes, right? When you catch it and it's gone. And I wish I could remember who it was. Anyways, let me dry this really fast so we can speed this up. I will say though that Sodalite definitely works and looks much better if you let it dry on its own, because it granulates and it moves and it's like this beautiful color. Okay. Now, I'm taking my number 4 round. I am going to take some Lunar Black. And I want a nice juicy brush. And this, I may need ink. So we're gonna drop this in. This is, I am like now leaving a puddle. Okay. So now we have a puddle there. Grab your scraper, put it above, pull down. Cats. Cats. Ink, I think, would be wonderful for this. Or like the liquid watercolor, like Dr. P.H. Martin's. That, I bet, would be fantastic. Let's go with Indian red for like a brown. And I'm going to go right next to But see, it's important I have enough here. I'm just dropping. I didn't clean off the last one. So imagine, you do them all the way across. Let's put another one over here. So there you go, my friends. If you can't come up with something to paint, just do, fast, easy kitties. If it didn't drag all the way down, I could let that dry and do another color, and maybe there's a cat in front. And maybe he's in the background. He's in the back row. Okay, and then of course, I can paint something in front of him, or I can cut that off right there. Whatever. It works really good. And I could have laid them all out, and if I had a wider scraper, and scraped them all down at the same time. So you can do that too. But you really need to have like pools of your liquid or your ink. I think ink would be a great choice. But then when you're done, come back. Dipping into my gouache here. Because, my gosh, could you picture these for like a Halloween card? They're going to look at you. There you go. Huh? And again, if I can find the artist that I saw do this first, because this is not my idea. I wish I came up with that. That would have been fantastic. I will pin a comment below. I don't know if I'll be able to find it again, but look at, so little cats. Just different fun things that we can use to get our brains going and being creative. Now let's dry this. We're going to cut these up and we will be done. Let me just quiet you down. Okay. And you know what? As I was sitting there drying that, I thought, you know what? This design, how cute would that be? To put it on the left edge, maybe have some more grass that trails this way, kind of tapers out. And then your little message, happy birthday, get well soon, whatever. And it's just those 3 simple flowers. I can definitely say that doing this worked because I loved, and not as crazy about these ones, but I loved the way the leaves came out on those, especially I think that one's my favorite. I just loved it. And that would not have happened if I didn't just sit down to play with some paint. We come back with these, and we are not going to worry about being perfect with them. We just want quick strokes. Like that one got a little big. That doesn't matter. This one I need to turn to do. You can do them, you know, you can make your marks slower and more precise if you want to, but you don't have to. Just adding a little few dark dots at the bottom of this one just to darken up its base a little bit. And before I didn't do the little lines, but I did this time. Now, once you have these gradients done, and this one would have looked so much better if you can see it's still a little wet there. But if I had not touched it with the heat tool, because lunar blue is a granulating color, and the granulation that would have been on theirs would have been amazing. And you could even do just solid color and then come back like with the white gel pen and put words on it. I could put words on top of this, you know, just something inspirational or whatever to have on my bookmark to put in my book. So you can start with the gradient and then embellish it afterwards. Let's go ahead and remove this tape, and we will separate these and see, look at that line. And this is not something I would have painted, but deciding to go with like the doodle I always go to, it's my favorite piece. This one's a little easier to come off because I was just, actually I say that and it's still tearing a little bit. It's tearing a lot of it. Okay. I still think the tape peel is like the best. Oh, absolutely, Tara. You could just do these with like metallic paint pens, or you could embellish them with metallic paint pens. I could take like a white gel pen and put highlights in some of these clouds if I wanted to. You're only limited by what your imagination, you know, comes up with. And the whole point of this is to get that creative side of your brain working. So yeah, if you are in the process and you think of something, like just starting with, take one piece of paper, and this paper's not that expensive. This paper's so not expensive. If you, I'm just going to close this palette up. Take that one piece of paper and just fill it with colors. And then start doing your doodles. You know, whatever it is that you would go to if you were on hold on the phone with a piece of paper and a pen in your hand. See, look at that one. I love it. I definitely have to get a new cutter because these would have all been cut really fast with the old blade. So there we go. Just gradients. Again, if I came over with you know, black liner pen, I could put words on that. We've got our flowers, which I think would be perfect to even do something like that. Just 3 little flowers up the side of a card, you know, along the fold side. Little extra grass that kind of tapers, you know, out this way, just to kind of anchor it. Don't be afraid to turn your landscape a different way. Just use shapes. If you like to doodle lines and squiggles, or, you know, another thing you can do, if you guys remember, I did the neurographic art before, and you could do that on one of these, where basically you just start and you make some random lines, and then anywhere that there's the heart intersects, you round all those edges. And once all your edges are round, fill in all, it ends up looking almost like a stained glass. And that can also get you going as far as sparking that creativity. But having done this now I'm like, okay, I want to work on painting some leaves. Like, what else can I paint now? I might be interested in doing something that's kind of botanical, you know. Of course, I love landscapes. So, you know, I like this one. I think out of the 3 that are like landscape, this one is my favorite. This one is definitely my favorite overall. And yeah, what do you guys think? I hope that helps spark some creativity in you. You will have to let me know in the comments what resonated with you the most. Yes, absolutely. I said that earlier. I have a laminating machine, and I am going to laminate these, and then I'll cut them out just slightly larger so I can do like a hole punch in the laminate and put like a little tassel for a bookmark. But yeah, and then you can sell your bookmarks. Like, say you do a, you know, little fair or a booth, or maybe there's a small little shop in your town that would let you pop some of these in there. If they're laminated, that's just putting them in a little box, you know, and you sell them for, I don't know. What are you going to sell a bookmark for? I haven't bought a bookmark. Like, I don't know what bookmarks go for. I haven't had to buy any. So, anyhow, but you sell them for whatever a bookmark would sell for. And now you're selling your art. Yeah, I'm like so excited that you guys joined me today. Just a huge thank you to all of the patrons for your support. And thanks to my moderators. Their channels are linked in the description below, Tara and Joseph. I hope that you will check them out if you have not already. I'm going to pop another, look, it's over there, another video up right there after, once it's done and the replay is available. So if you're watching this on replay, thanks for spending your time with me. And we'll put another video here that you might like to watch next. And until next time, guys, I hope to see you again next week. Have fun. I hope it sparked some creativity. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.